Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
It's Monday, December 1st, 2025. This is Faith On with another episode of The Swamp. Brand new week. President Trump drops another filibuster bomb onto Senate Republicans today, letting them know that if they don't nuke the filibuster and Democrats clinch the Senate, they will immediately kill the filibuster and overwhelmingly pack the Supreme Court. And President Trump signed the Medal of Honor Act, which will provide a pay increase with the pensions provided to service members who receive the Medal of Honor. Hakeem Jeffries, Temu Obama, he's off his rocker yet again, talking about prosecuting quote-unquote Trump allies when Democrats take over Congress again. The big election in Tennessee happens tomorrow, where the people of the volunteer state will either vote for a left-wing radical who hates Nashville or the other guy who doesn't. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced their plan to begin reviewing SNAP benefits for every single recipient nationwide in an effort to eliminate benefits being handed to illegal immigrants. In response to this effort, 21 states have threatened to sue the federal government in order to continue sending our tax dollars to illegal immigrants. The U.S. Department of Transportation has given all truck driving schools across America 30 days to comply with federal law, or they will face harsh consequences. According to the Associated Press, 44% of all truck driving schools may close as a result of their inability or unwillingness to cooperate with federal law. And there's a lot more to get into. We're just going to dive straight on in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like if you get a second, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy daily updates, and I might just read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one. Every article you'll see in the video will be linked in the description below, and if there's any government department or office, agency, official, or entity that you notice that I haven't been covering on the Swamp, just let me know in the comments, and I will add them to the list. And this is from Breaking 911 from the POTUS. Terminate the filibuster, which will lead to an easy win of the midterms and an even easier win in the presidential election of 2028. So I'm just going to read the whole thing word for word. Obama sycophant, the former Attorney General of the United States, who did so much to hurt our country and who weaponized the Obama administration against the Republican Party and me, Eric Holder, known as quote-unquote Fast and Furious, just gave a speech where he emphatically stated, above all else, that Democrats will pack the Supreme Court of the United States if they get the chance. The word is, he wants 21 radical left activist judges. Not being satisfied with the heretofore 15 that they were seeking, it will be 21. They will destroy our Constitution, and there's not a thing that the Republicans can do about it unless we terminate the filibuster, which will lead to an easy win of the midterms and an even easier win in the presidential election of 2028. Why would the Republicans even think about giving them this opportunity? The American people don't want gridlock. They want their leaders to get things done, terminate the filibuster, and have the most successful 4 years in the history of our country by far, with not even the hint of a shutdown of our great nation on January 30th. I agree with them at this point. I've been on the fence with the whole filibuster thing, even though I haven't been extremely knowledgeable on the filibuster. I understand the concept of it. I'm just saying, politically speaking, historically speaking. But as Trump had stated recently, there were 2 Democrats that were in the Senate that were against the filibuster, and they're not here anymore. And with those 2 senators gone, Kristen Sinema being one, the second name escapes me at the moment, but with them out of the way, Democrats, if they get the Senate back in their favor, then they'll have the ability to nuke the filibuster, and I'm sure they'll do just that. At this point, as extreme as the Democrats have gotten over the last 10 years, I'm sure that they've been on board and they've been pushing to nuke the filibuster probably for my entire life, maybe or maybe not. Packing the Supreme Court, I'm sure that's been on their agenda for quite a while, since the Supreme Court's been conservative-leaning for like 90 years. So wouldn't surprise me at all if it gets to that point, especially if the Supreme Court, because look, apparently the Supreme Court, they're about to hear a case with regard to gay marriage, and it's looking like, and we don't know, we're not going to know until they give us their decision, but it's apparently, according to the experts, they're going to overturn the allowance of gay marriage that was agreed to by the Supreme Court or decided by the Supreme Court back in 2015. So if they reverse that and they essentially make gay marriage no longer legal in the United States, plus they already got rid of Roe v. Wade, you really think that Democrats are not going to nuke the filibuster and then start packing the Supreme Court after those two hot topic issues? I would second guess that. I mean, if you're thinking that they're not going to, I bet they are at this point. So you might as well get ahead of it, Republicans, Senate Republicans specifically. And you might want to get rid of the filibuster at this point because, yeah, all hell's going to break loose if they actually head down this road. And if there's nothing Republicans can do about it, if they just need a simple majority in the Senate to nuke the filibuster, and after that happens, they could just railroad everything that they want as long as they get a simple majority. Oh, yeah, dude, it's fucking over. At least the country that we know of today, with all of these extreme things that they're going to be pressing through, undoing everything Trump did. And if they have a Democrat president with a filibuster that's been nuked, any and every executive order that they do, anyone that they strip away from Trump's presidency, everyone that they add, I mean, they're just going to codify everything, man. They're just going to railroad everything into law. It's going to get absolutely insane. So, I'm sure assault weapons ban, anything that like more than like a fucking like two rounds per magazine bullshit, things like that. All right, anyway. So this is from Eric Doherty. Just in about 40 minutes ago, U.S. Senate votes 50-41 to advance President Trump judicial nominee David Bragdon to be district judge for the Middle District of North Carolina. Keep confirming the activist judges must be outweighed nationwide. And this is the vote.
The motion is agreed to. The clerk will report the nays are 50, the nays are 41, and the motion is agreed to. The clerk will report the nomination.
Nomination, the judiciary, David A. Bragdon of North Carolina to be United States District Judge for the Middle District.
There you have it. He's been confirmed. He's going to be the federal judge, Middle District, North Carolina, or the district judge, United States District Judge, to be specific. And he even got some Democrats voting on it, too. So, at least I believe. Yeah. It looks like at least a few Democrats did, based on the 49 yeas, 41 nays. Okay. Department of State, the United States has assumed the 2026 presidency of the G20. The best is yet to come. G20. Okay, so that's just their X handle, which I have a post just below this one. But first, we'll get this one from the Department of State. United States assumes presidency of the Group of 20. Effective today, December 1st, 2025, the United States has assumed the 2026 presidency of the Group of 20. Under President Trump's leadership, we will return the G20 to focusing on its core mission of driving economic growth and prosperity to produce results. As we usher in these much-needed reforms, we will prioritize three core themes: unleashing economic prosperity by limiting regulatory burdens, unlocking affordable and secure energy supply chains, and pioneering new technologies and innovations. We look forward to hosting the G20 Leaders Summit in one of America's greatest cities, Miami, Florida, during the 250th anniversary year of the United States. And the official website can be found at g20.org. And then I've got this from the G20 United States, their official profile, which they posted 11 hours ago, in which I've added to my list of government entities to cover on the swamp. Just a simple picture, G20, Miami, 2026, USA, President Trump, American flag, all that good stuff. And from the White House, President Trump just signed the Medal of Honor Act, which ensures the Medal of Honor recipients are rightfully compensated with an increase to their pension after their military service is over. Do you agree with this? Do you think this is a good idea? I think it's a good idea. I think it's a fantastic idea, man. If you went so far above and beyond to help out your fellow soldiers in need, or whatever it was that you did, risking your life in most cases over and over again, or just running into certain death in many cases, yeah, I think that warrants a pay raise, to say the least. I mean, hell, I bet a lot of people would say, whatever the pay raise was, it probably still isn't enough. Well, I mean, what do they get, 20%, 30%? I'm sure it says it in here somewhere. So on Monday, December 1st, the president signed into law H.R. 695, the Medal of Honor Act, which requires the Department of Veterans Affairs to increase the rate of the special monthly pension payable to living Medal of Honor recipients, and H.R. 2483, the support for patients and Communications Reauthorization Act of 2025, which reauthorizes programs related to substance use, disorder prevention, treatment, and recovery. And that's it. Okay, so I guess they didn't include that. So let's see. The Medal of Honor Act. So let me just find this out. Let's see. I don't know why I didn't say it in there. Okay, so Medal of Honor Act increases the monthly special pension for the living Medal of Honor recipients from $1,406.73 to $8,333.33. Really? Monthly? Wow, dude, that's like, what, like a 700% increase? I'm not very good with math, but sounds like it anyway. Effective upon enactment, this equates to an annual pension of approximately $100,000, up from only $16,881, adjusted annually for inflation. Wow, dude. Current pension, $1,406 a month, which is $16,880.76 annually, unchanged since the last base increase in 2002. Wow. What was that, 23 years ago? With no cost of living adjustments applied. The new pension is going to be $8,333 a month. Dude, I wish I got a raise like that. But hey, man, I didn't win the Medal of Honor. $99,999.96 annually, rounded to $100,000. So $6,926.60 a month is going to be the increase for anyone who receives the Medal of Honor. Wow. Hey, man, I'm still on board with that. I think that's great. Of course, you know, it'd be nice if all of us, not just all of us civilians, you know, I was never in the military, so I can't say us in the military, but not only the military, it'd be nice if everybody were to get somehow to get some pension where we would get like $100,000 a year, and then inflation would skyrocket like crazy accordingly. But yeah, man, Medal of Honor. That's very cool. That's good that they signed that into law. Benny Johnson breaking: rogue judges have just disqualified Alina Abba from serving as U.S. Attorney in New Jersey. Looks like this broke this afternoon, or later this morning.
To disqualify President Trump's pick. Appeals court is now siding with a lower court ruling to disqualify President Trump's pick for New Jersey U.S. Attorney Alina Habba. So there is a 3-judge panel, and it ruled that the Trump administration used an illegal method to nominate Habba as the top prosecutor in the state. The judges wrote in their opinion that Trump administration's argument would effectively permit anyone to fill the U.S. attorney role indefinitely. And this case could see further appeal before a full panel of Third Circuit judges, or it could head to the Supreme Court, and we'll keep you posted on what happens.
Yeah, but like, why? I mean, I heard that the 3 panel of judges said that she's disqualified, but they didn't really give a real reason as to why they did. Look, if there was any illegal reason or any illegal method that the Trump administration employed to get her to be nominated or serving as U.S. Attorney in New Jersey, then fine. If it wasn't lawful, it wasn't lawful. I'm not going to push back against that. Of course, you know, like, people are going to, like Benny Johnson, for instance, rogue judges. I mean, were they really rogue judges? Did they just because it was Trump's nominee, that's why they threw her out of the position as U.S. Attorney? Or was there an actual procedural issue here? Not sure. Okay, Eric Daugherty, update. Hakeem Jeffries is now furiously threatening prosecution of Trump allies if Democrats reclaim power. And, of course, he gives a quote, as they often do. Looks like that's just another X post, so we'll just play this quick video from Temu Obama.
One thing that should be clear to all of these Republican extremists,
it's always be clear,
and the people who are either actively involved in corruption, violating the law, engaged in extrajudicial activity.
What about Democrats, man? I've heard a lot more Democrats engaged in this nonsense. Like, James Comey. I was trying to think who that was. My cat's distracted me. Who else? Letitia James, Adam Schiff, Bill and Hillary Clinton. I'm sure they're going to be on that list. Even Obama himself. But no, we only got to go after the Republicans, though, because those are the ones who actually threaten our seizure of power in the future and our great reset in 2030. Now we got to push that back because evil Orange Man took over in 2016.
Is that the statute of limitations for any crimes being committed now 5 years. It will extend well beyond the end of the Trump administration.
Well beyond. Okay, well, why don't you explain to us who you're talking about and what charges you're talking about? What exactly are these people doing? Of course, they're pretty good about not telling us exactly what they're doing. They're not even good about pointing out problems. That's just about all Democrats do. They just point out problems. They never offer any solutions. And they always just a bunch of vague bullshit, usually. Hakeem Jeffries, Republicans are determined to let the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire. These extremists haven't done a damn thing to address the high cost of living. And that's why working class Americans are abandoning the GOP in droves. Yeah, dude, that ain't happening, because if you go back to the 2024 election, and if you look at it, the nationwide map, county per county, can't remember which website that was. There's a website that shows the graphic of every county, all 2,500 or 3,000 counties across the entire country. And it shows with arrows, did each county pull more to the right or more to the left? If the counties pull more to the left, the arrow would be pointing obviously toward the left and colored in blue, or colored in red pointing to the right. Every single county in the entire United States of America pulled to the right. All of them. I don't think there was a single county that pulled in any way left, not even by a single vote more than they did in the prior election. So, not sure exactly what he's talking about, but anyway, we'll give him a listen.
Well, here's the bottom line. We're in the middle of a devastating Republican healthcare crisis that is threatening the safety and the well-being.
Again, Obamacare. Yeah, that's a Republican healthcare crisis.
Of
okay.
Tens of millions of Americans. In a year where they've already enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, hospitals and nursing homes and community-based...
Oh, man, here we go again. Plus the Republicans with One Big Beautiful Bill Act, there's $50 billion that they're handing to rural hospitals and clinics, probably other medical facilities around the country, and Democrats are trying like hell to undo that. They're trying to strip that away, so you could play that on the other side, Hakeem Jeffries, that Democrats are trying to strip $50 billion away from American citizens by stripping away that money for healthcare.
Health centers are closing all throughout America. We know that because of the
Democrats
Republican
want them to
refusal
close.
to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, people all across the country in the middle of this holiday season are about to experience dramatically increased health care premiums. In some cases, those health insurance costs are going to increase by $1,000 or $2,000 per month if there's a failure to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, because it's a program that serves working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans all across the country, including in rural America.
Yeah, only Democrats would think that would be a wise idea to dump billions, hundreds of billions of dollars into a failing program. It's a failure. Let it go. Another one from Hakeem Jeffries. House Republicans have used their majority to do great harm to everyday Americans. Oh, they're so fraudulent, so bad.
The interesting thing about this is that when, Donald Trump usually says to House Republicans, do something, when he tells them to jump, they just say how high.
No examples, just a bunch of metaphorical bullshit.
And he asked them to enact the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. They did it. He asked them
fraud, waste, and abuse
to cut $186 billion from SNAP in the one big ugly bill.
Illegal immigrants.
Ripping food from the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans. They did it.
No, just the illegals.
In that same one big ugly bill.
And the ones committing fraud.
He asked them to enact these massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors and make them permanent.
Again, they failed to connect that.
They did it. But
how do you connect the SNAP benefits and the healthcare system to billionaires getting tax breaks? I still have yet to find out exactly how they connect billionaire tax breaks with the healthcare system and SNAP benefits.
When Donald Trump floats a possible
just a talking point.
proposal to try to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, now they want to act like they're a separate and co-equal branch of government. When it comes to actually helping the American people, it's extraordinary.
All right, well, there he is, Temu Obama doing what Temu Obama does best. He's Temu Obama. Talk. Okay, another Democrat here, Rep. Scott Peters. President Trump's barbaric anti-family, anti-freedom policies are killing women. Like, Trump is literally killing women now. There are no words to describe the pain Tierra Walker's family and too many other families across the country are feeling. Accessible reproductive health care saves lives. From ProPublica, they found multiple cases of women with underlying health conditions who died when they couldn't access abortions. Right. Tierra Walker, a 37-year-old mother who was told by doctors there was no emergency before preeclampsia killed her. Don't know her case. Don't know preeclampsia. I'm not a doctor. Not familiar with that Although I'm pretty sure that even in states where they have outlawed abortion, if the mother is on the verge of death, if it's certain death, unless they intervene with regard to removing the baby or doing whatever they need to do, I'm pretty sure that they're going to save the mother. I think that's the policy. Look, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Not 100% for sure. Abortion's not really, my main fight or anything like that. So, but you know what? To be fair, I'm actually going to open this up and read this story. Yeah, they linked one, right? Yeah. Here, this is from ProPublica.org. So, if it'll let me read it, maybe it's going to paywall me, but maybe not. So far, so good. Okay. So they've got Tiara Walker had reached her limit in the week since she had learned she was pregnant. The 37-year-old dental assistant had been racked by unexplained seizures and mostly confined to a hospital cot. With soaring blood pressure and diabetes, she knew she was at high risk of developing preeclampsia, a pregnancy complication that could end her life. Her mind was made up. On the morning of October 14, 2024, for the sake of her 14-year-old son, she needed to ask her doctor for an abortion to protect her health. Wouldn't you think it would be better for me not to have the baby, she asked a physician at Methodist Hospital in Northeast near San Antonio. According to her aunt, just a few years earlier, she had developed a dangerous case of preeclampsia that had led to the stillbirth of her twins. But the doctor, family said, told her what many other medical providers would say in the weeks that followed. There was no emergency. Nothing was wrong with her pregnancy, only her health. Of course, it's going to be he said, she said. That's what it all boils down to. There's no evidence one way or the other. Just after Christmas on his birthday, JJ found his mom draped over in her bed, lifeless. An autopsy would later confirm that she had feared preeclampsia killed her at 20 weeks pregnant. Walker's death is one of multiple cases ProPublica is investigating in which women with underlying health conditions died after they were unable to end their pregnancies. Walker had known, did she consult the doctor and ask if it was a good idea, or did she demand to get one? Did she, no matter what, I got to get one because my life's at stake? I don't know. All right, anyway, Walker had known that abortion was illegal in Texas, but she had thought that hospitals could make an exception for patients like her whose health was at risk. I'm pretty sure that they do, but maybe I'm wrong there. The reality in states that ban abortion, patients with chronic conditions and other high-risk pregnancies often have nowhere to turn. They enter pregnancy sick and are expected to get sicker, yet lawmakers who wrote the bans have refused to create exceptions for health risks. As a result, many hospitals and doctors facing the threat of criminal charges no longer offer these patients terminations. ProPublica found in the interviews with more than 100 OBGYNs across the country, instead, these women are left to gamble with their lives. Okay, so I'll link that if you want to read the rest of that. I did jump over to Grok real quick, and I asked, in Texas, if a pregnant woman is facing certain death, is the doctor allowed to terminate the pregnancy? Just a short answer. The short answer is yes. Under Texas Senate Bill 8, the Heartbeat Act, and the Post-Dobbs Texas Human Life Protection Act, which is also known as the Trigger Law, there is an explicit medical emergency exception that allows abortion when, in the physician's reasonable medical judgment, it is necessary to prevent the pregnant woman's death or a serious risk of substantial impairment of a major bodily function. Doctors can legally perform the abortion in that life-threatening situation without facing criminal or civil penalties under the abortion bans. I had a feeling that was in effect, and pretty sure that's the case in every state where they've got a quote-unquote abortion ban, or the heartbeat bill, or what have you. Because, if the mother is facing certain death, like with diabetes, preeclampsia, whatever other conditions that they might have, and look, they may have to bring in a second doctor for a second opinion, perhaps. That's not mentioned here, but that could be a possibility where a second doctor may have to weigh in and say, you're at extremely high risk right now. This is looking really bad. I would recommend terminating the pregnancy. So, that is a thing in Texas. They can do that. So, it sounds like just a case of he said, she said. It's really sad that happened to her. I'm definitely not trying to make any light of that in any way, shape, or form. If anything, it's ProPublica that's trying to stand on the graves of these women to try to push a political agenda. Okay, RNC research. When running for the Tennessee House, Afton Ban said that Republicans had the minority opinion and that she would leverage her authority to silence them. Now, Ban wants to represent a district that overwhelmingly supported President Trump. And RNC Research flashback, November 17th, Democrat candidate for Tennessee 7, Afton Ban, promised to silence her Republican colleagues in the legislature. And Ban, I think I'm saying her name right? Ban or Ben, whatever. They are the minority opinion, and they need to be silenced. I plan to leverage my position and power in doing that. So she just wants to simply silence people that she doesn't agree with, because that's typically what Democrats want these days. So let's get
Do you have any hesitation about
that was
going
loud,
up
sorry.
to a legislature where that is the culture, or do you feel like that's why you're needed?
I mean, as you and I both know, the Tennessee legislature is a cesspool. And I think it takes a certain...
Why are they a cesspool? What makes them a cesspool? Because they're conservatives, and conservatives are cesspool
person
mosquitoes and pond scum.
And resilience that I have and that I've built over, I've generated over the past few years. And so I know going into, we are at a critical moment in history with creeping authoritarianism and the far right attacks on transgender kids.
Yeah, because Democrats aren't authoritarianism at all.
Community, and they're on the wrong side of history, and I have no problem saying that. And I think that they're the minority opinion, and they need to be silenced. And I plan to leverage my position,
anti-free speech,
and privilege,
you heard it from
power,
her,
and the constituency of House District 51 to help me in doing that.
They need to be silenced. Wow. Of course, if you asked her point blank, since she's up for election tomorrow, she'd say, "Of course I didn't say that. No, I wouldn't say a thing like that." Another one, Afton Ban, wouldn't or won't say it was a mistake to say that she hates Nashville. CNN, do you think it was a mistake to say that? Ban, I was a private citizen. So in other words, no, it wasn't a mistake. She actually does hate Nashville, apparently.
I do want to ask you about an attack line from Republicans, because this is a comment you made in 2020 about Nashville. It's gotten a lot of attention.
Already downplaying it.
Let's listen to this.
I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville, apparently, an it city to the rest of the country.
That was pre-lockdown, by the way.
I know you said those comments were taken out of context, but I want to ask you about it, because I'm wondering, do you think it was a mistake to say that?
Once again, I was a private citizen. Nashville is my home. Do I roll my eyes at the
Lady, you're still a private citizen. You haven't been elected, dumbass.
bachelorette parties and the pedal taverns that are blocking my access to my
See
house?
the power trip these people are on?
But this race has always been about something bigger. It's about families across Middle Tennessee that are getting crushed by rising prices, while Washington politicians and billionaires argue about this type of nonsense.
I do want to ask you about
the same talking point. The billionaires. It's all the billionaires' fault. The billionaires. Isn't it the billionaires that pay like 60% of all the income tax in the entire country? Like the top 1% pay like the overwhelming majority of income tax. Okay, so RNC Research, Afton Ban is a power-hungry radical leftist who wants to abolish police, abolish prisons, destroy the nuclear family. She hates Nashville, and she hates you. Greg Price, and when was that again? And that was November 24th, so it's about a week ago. So Democrat nominee for the upcoming Tennessee District 7 special election, Afton Ban, condemns women who get married and start families, saying it's the product of deeply patriarchal structures. My therapist always asks me to transcribe my dreams, and the recurring dream I've had is standing up in a cafeteria full of women and saying, I don't want children, I want power. That sounds about right.
My therapist always asks me to transcribe my dreams when they happen.
Of course she's in therapy.
And the recurring dream I've had is...
I mean, nothing wrong with therapy.
Standing up in a cafeteria full of women. I don't know why I was there or whatever.
Probably should stay in
and
it.
saying, I don't want children, I want power. And just screaming it at the top of my lungs. And for someone who grew up with my mother telling me never have kids because you'll have to give up a lot. You'll have to sacrifice.
Yeah, a word from the wise, never elect somebody who lusts for power.
Professionally, which is what she was saying. And where I am now with seeing the consequences and the ramifications of women having kids and being in the political field and what they're able to achieve.
Yeah, but you don't have
because we
kids.
don't offer, it's like the political field hasn't met the challenge of working moms. They
Her
really
boyfriend
haven't.
does, though, I think.
But also,
her boyfriend is a
deeply
transgender
patriarchal
kid.
structures that these women are involved with because they've chosen marriage and they've chosen to raise children. And I think in the South it's incredibly difficult to shake those, especially if if you've grown up here and that's all you've been told is the definition of success. The metric of success is how many kids you have, the square footage of your house.
Yeah.
And where your kids go to school.
No, house, not so much. Life is about family, lady. Life is about people. So it's absolutely worth living for it. Most people do measure the success of their life based on how many children they have and how big of a family they can create, because what's all this for? If not for your family, for your legacy, for your future that you're handing down to future generations. So, all right, anyway, so it's on Greg Price. So if you want to hear it without me constantly interrupting, I guess I'll repost it. I don't usually repost it, but I'll repost this one. It was like way back on November 24th. So if you want to go listen to it, on your own time, I won't have you go over to his profile and scroll forever. But a link to my profile is in the description below, direct link. So you'll see it up there near the top. Okay, so Mike Johnson, Tennessee District 7, vote Matt for Tennessee. That is Matt Van Epps for Congress on December 2nd. Tomorrow, President Donald Trump is right. Combat veteran and America First patriot Matt Van Epps will never let Tennessee 7th District or our nation down. And this is from Donald J. Trump's True Social, which I think he posted today. I'm asking all America First patriots in Tennessee's 7th Congressional District who haven't voted yet to please get out and vote on Election Day, Tuesday, December 2nd, for a phenomenal candidate, Matt Van Epps. Matt is fighting against a woman who hates Christianity, will take away your guns, wants open borders, transgender for everyone, men and women's sports, and openly disdains country music. And all of those things, I've actually shown videos already over the last couple of weeks of that came from her mouth. Like all of these things that he pointed out, she said herself already. She said all of these things precisely and without question. It's on tape. Yes, it is. Do not take this race for granted. The radical left Democrats are spending a fortune to beat one of the best candidates we've ever had, Matt Van Epps. You can win this election for Matt. Get out and vote for Matt Van Epps, who has my complete and total endorsement. He will never let you down. So if you go to my channel, my YouTube channel, and you go to search, you can just type in Afton Ben, and it'll pull up several videos. I think I've probably done 5 or 6 videos at this point. And it's going to cover all of those things that he mentioned. Her words. It's what she said herself. Okay, next one, RNC Research. Reminder, Afton Ben smeared voters in her district who voted for President Trump as racist, white supremacists, and bigots.
But for me, it was like, I mean, it was this like really honest, raw and naked criticism of white folks in a way that I needed post the election, because I literally, like, Biden won, but racism won, and maybe that's the title of the pod. It's like more people decided that this racist, white supremacist bigot deserved your vote at the ballot box than any other person. And
well, then why don't you just step aside and let a person of color take your place, Miss White Lady? Oh no, she can't do that though. ICE Deputy Director Madison Sheehan. So we're moving on to the next thing. The brave fathers and mothers at ICE are keeping our families, our neighborhoods, and our country safe. Child predators, murderers, gang members, R-words. These are the criminal illegal aliens ICE is removing from our country. This ad is disgraceful and anti-American. And this is from Matt Van Swall. Breaking a new anti-ICE commercial. Oh, come on. Get away, Grok. Go away. An anti-ICE commercial called What Will You Say has launched in Charlotte, North Carolina, paid for by Women's March Organization. The ad shows a father who is an ICE agent coming home to hug his daughter after work, where she asks, "Daddy, how was your day?" And the ad then shows fictional ICE agents shattering car windows, footage of kids, grandmothers crying, people being arrested. Women's March Org never ran a single ad after Irania Zarutska was stabbed to death on the light rail by a repeat offender. Nor did they run a single ad on Logan Federico, who was murdered by a man with 39 previous charges. This ad is beyond evil. What happened to the feminists? What happened to actually caring about women? I don't understand. So let's get this
You will be caught. You will be removed. And you will never return.
Video to a monitor shows the moment the ICE
Oh, of course, he's got to be a white man.
Daddy, how's your day?
I arrest innocent people.
A mask can't hide you from your neighbors.
Criminal illegals.
Your children. And God. They'll know. You can walk away before the shame follows you home.
Daddy, how's your day?
Paid for by Women's March Win. Okay, so that was the commercial they're talking about. Yeah, Beyond Evil. Definitely loaded with ridiculous propaganda. Okay, DOJ spokesperson 47, the official account for the Justice Department Office of Public Affairs. Please continue to pray for Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf's recovery and for the family of U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. AG Pam Bondi, we are a praying country, and we all have to pray for Andy's full recovery right now. This is on Fox News Sunday.
I've been on the phone with Melody and Jason. Those are Andy's Wolf's parents. These are wonderful people. They were at his bedside last night. They are at his bedside right now. They spent Thanksgiving at Andy's bedside. And Shannon, I just have to say this, we are a praying country, and we all have to pray for Andy's full recovery right now. He is a remarkable young man. He joined the Guard in 2019. His dad's a career police officer. He fought to keep our country safe, and now we have to pray to fight to get him back to 100% and do everything we can to support his family. I'm going to see his parents tonight. Wonderful people. And, you know, we lost Sarah. We lost Sarah to a terrorist attack in our country. That should not be happening in the United States of America. That's why Donald Trump closed our borders. That's why Donald Trump has cut off all of these people from coming into our country.
All right, so let me just take a quick look here. All right, Andrew Wolf. Let's do this. All right, head up over here. All right, let's see if there's any update. I haven't heard any updates since he had brain surgery, but that was several days ago. So 24-year-old, critically injured. Let's see. As of December 1st today, Wolf remains in serious condition at a Washington area trauma center, but has shown encouraging signs of responsiveness and progress. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey provided the latest update during a press conference, describing it as positive news, while emphasizing that Wolf is still fighting for his life and that long-term outcomes remain uncertain. Key details from the update include signs of improvement. When asked by a nurse if he could hear her, Wolf gave a thumbs up. He also wiggled his toes, indicating some motor response and awareness. That's incredible news. Overall status, he is awake and responsive under sedation in the ICU following emergency brain surgery shortly after the shooting. The initial 24 to 48 hours post-surgery were critical to manage brain swelling, and the next 2 weeks will involve close monitoring for potential lasting effects. Family's request, Wolf's mother, Melody, has publicly asked for continued prayers, stating it feels like a nightmare, but expressing gratitude for the support. The family was able to visit him in the ICU recently. Okay, so that's very good news. It's good that he's responsive, even gave a thumbs up, so his arms, as weak as I'm sure he probably is physically, giving a thumbs up is a huge sign. Wiggling his toes is another huge sign. It appears that he, paralysis, I'm sure, was a big concern, especially with a brain injury. And for him being able to respond to commands or just anybody talking to him, that's excellent news. So it's probably going to be a long recovery, but hopefully it'll be as quick as humanly possible. From Homeland Security, asylum overhaul. President Trump and Secretary Noem are putting an end to the idiotic policies that allowed millions of illegal aliens and hundreds of thousands of foreigners into our country unvetted. By the way, Secretary Kristi Noem, she's the Secretary of Homeland Security, if you didn't know. So let's give this a watch.
This could absolutely grow, Dana. This is evolving, especially as we do some real analysis on this. But I do think it's incredibly important for viewers to know what the prior administration was doing when it comes to vetting, especially when it came to this operation allies welcome. This vetting was paper thin. They weren't doing biometric vetting. They weren't really doing criminal vetting, criminal screening.
No, man, they're flooding the cargo planes,
cyber
man.
screening,
They're vetting
financial
shit.
crimes. They weren't cross-referencing. They weren't looking at social media. So President Trump and Secretary Noem have completely overhauled this process to make sure we're diving in deep and seeing who are the people who are actually entering this country. As your past guests have said, almost 200,000 Afghan nationals entering this country, many of which were military-age men. The fact of the matter is the Biden administration didn't know who was coming into our country, causing a huge national security crisis. And that's exactly what we saw the other day with this terrorist attack, and then this near terrorist attack out of Fort Worth, Texas, where this individual was threatening to blow up a building.
Yeah, blow up. Yep.
Both of these individuals being Afghan nationals, both of them coming in under this Biden administration program.
Yeah, man, we got to keep our heads on a swivel because there could be sleeper cells out there. You know, it's got to start somewhere. So hopefully that's not going to happen, but always got to keep on the lookout. Tom Cotton, under Joe Biden's failed immigration policies, thousands of unvetted Afghan nationals flooded our country, endangering all Americans. Vetting standards for countries of concern like Afghanistan need to be revisited immediately.
Well, first, Brian, let me extend my condolences to the families and the loved ones and the battle buddies of the 2 National Guard soldiers who were attacked viciously last week on the streets of Washington. I think clearly vetting standards for every person who's been admitted in the country, especially from countries of concern like Afghanistan, need to be revisited. When our military and our CIA goes around the world, they work with unsavory characters. It's a necessary part of the job. And they engage in some vetting of those characters. But that's very different from the standards that we would apply to vet someone to come to this country, to live in our communities, to have a family, and to ultimately become American citizens. And that's what the Biden administration got so wrong. First off, they had just allowed Afghanistan to collapse, even though the warning signs were there in 2021. And then they rushed thousands and thousands of Afghan nationals into our country without applying those heightened standards. That's one reason I fought for years against the Biden administration effort to give immediate paths to citizenship to all of these people. And as you just heard Secretary Noem say, the administration is going to go back and revisit all of these cases to make sure that we don't have more such heinous attacks like the one that we saw last week in Washington.
Muted again. All right, yeah, that's fantastic news. I hope we have the personnel to handle all of that, because that's got to be hundreds of thousands of people, not just from Afghanistan, but from all these different third world countries. And look, people move around. Are they keeping tabs? All these Afghanis that moved here, are they required? I'm sure they're probably required to probably maintain some sort of a contact with some government entity, but are they really? Or are they just moving around just all willy-nilly and we have no idea where they are anymore? That's probably the case, and it's going to take a ton of investigating to find where everybody is, just so we can get to the point where we can start vetting them. So, A.G. Pambandi, Biden failed to vet the millions of illegal aliens he allowed into our country.
The one that you talked about that happened days before the Thanksgiving shooting, that one, he had been here through Operation Allies Welcome Program, minimal to little vetting. I was on the phone last night with Secretary Kristi Noem at length. They did not do biometrics. They did not do social media. They did very little, if minimal, vetting on all of these people. And now to take a step back, we have a 1.5 million backlog of people that have come into our country. And as you said, these people are being radicalized. We know that this shooter who shot our National Guardsman in D.C. the day before Thanksgiving, he was radicalized. You're going to hear a lot more about that. And these people should not have been in our country, should have never been in our country under Joe Biden. The one that you talked about that...
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, who radicalized him? Was it the mainstream media? Or did he already come over, radicalized to some degree? It's probably more the case than the former. We'll just have to wait and see. I guess they're investigating. Senator Marsha Blackburn, Joe Biden failed to vet the worst criminal illegal aliens imaginable, and Americans have suffered the consequences. The Trump administration is getting our country back on track.
I'm pleased to hear A.G. Bondi talk about this, Secretary Noem talking about this, and reinvigorating the process, the vetting process. As I said, when Joe Biden did this, that in 2021, you do not have a 1-800 Taliban number to call. You do not have a website for the Afghani government that you can go to and make certain you have the name, the birth date, the proper documentation on these individuals, and that they are indeed who they claim to be.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's a major problem. I really wish X would get their freaking video quality under control. I mean, improve it with all the money that they've spent on this website. All right, Secretary Kristi Noem, the Biden administration let in 100,000 Afghan nationals into our country during Operation Allies Welcome, many of them military-aged men with zero front-end vetting. Under President Trump, DHS is overhauling the vetting process for aliens. We are requiring the country of origin to cross-reference biometric data and criminal history, expanding our vetting to include social media screening, and directing individuals to check in every year. Well, if they're requiring the country of origin to cross-reference biometric data, that's going to void tons of them from the get-go, because I'm sure there's a lot of third world countries. They're not keeping biometric records on just everyday citizens, most likely. But I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, well, Greta, you asked how many people came in. We think up to 100,000 people came in under Operation Allies Welcome that may be here that we don't know necessarily who they are or why they came to this country. If they came here truly maybe for asylum, or if they were someone who had nefarious ideas on how to attack Americans or to undermine our way of life. What I would say on the vetting process is that has to happen before they ever come here. They have to be vetted before we allow them to get on a plane and come to the United States of America, so that we know what their intentions are and who they are. And in order for us to do that, I know from the Department of Homeland Security standpoint, we have to have another government and another country that cooperates with us, that shares information with us, that will help us check dates of service.
If not, you shall not pass.
Collect biometric information and data. That wasn't done by Joe Biden. It wasn't done by his administration. They did a vetting process, but it wasn't thorough. They didn't look at social media platforms, and that's all of the changes that President Trump is implementing.
Yep, and the dude that did the shooting in D.C., he worked with the CIA with, what was that, Zero Team or Zero, I can't remember the name of it offhand. But yeah, I mean, he worked for essentially the federal government for years, so I'm sure that they had enough information, which leads me to believe that he was probably radicalized after he got here. Exactly what he was watching, who he was listening to. Probably didn't act alone. I'm sure that there's a lot of contacts that's in his Rolodex or whatever that they're probably getting to. Plus, they found a whole bunch of different cell phones at his residence. So why would just some everyday Afghani national who came over here during the whole like Biden withdrawal debacle, who's not working, by the way, he didn't have a job. So why would he have a whole bunch of different cell phones? Okay, Scott Turner, HUD terminated Operation Allies Welcome days into the Trump administration. The days of unchecked American taxpayer dollars to the flood of illegals are over. And not sure what this is. So memorandum of understanding between the Department of Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement and the Department of Housing and Urban Development Office of Field Policy and Management. And then it goes over the purpose, the authorities, the participant responsibilities, and some more of that. Responsibilities, dispute resolution, publicity, designated points of contact, effective date, legal effect. Anyway, they've terminated it. It's been terminated. It was dated August the 4th of 2023, but I'll repost that if you want to check that out. And let's see, what do we got here? So another one from Scott Turner. Biden weaponized HUD as part of Operation Allies Welcome, letting a countless number of individuals into our country unchecked. We saw the fateful result today. HUD is investigating, more updates to come. So what is Operation Allies Welcome? The program that gave some Afghans entry to the U.S. That's on the New York Times. Biden administration set up the initiative after the Taliban retook power in Afghanistan in August of 2021 for those who assisted U.S. troops. And just a few pages of that, the overview. Biden directed the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to lead implementation of ongoing efforts across the federal government to support vulnerable Afghans, including those who worked alongside the U.S. in Afghanistan for the past 2 decades as they safely resettle in the United States. And let's see, Operation Allies Welcome, HUD programs and resources. There's information on that. And what does he got circled here? So HUD, public housing, and Section 8 programs, eligible and eligible. So quick guide to federal benefits eligibility for Afghan new arrivals. So this is all the stuff that they're eligible for. They're eligible for supplemental supplemental security income, or SSI, supplemental nutrition assistance program, so they can get SNAP benefits, temporary assistance for needy families, or TANF, emergency Medicaid, includes labor and delivery, Affordable Care Act health plans and subsidies, so they're getting free healthcare insurance, full scope Medicaid, so anything that they want, anything their hearts desire with regard to their healthcare, it is covered by the taxpayer. Women, infants, and children, they can get WIC, Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP, refugee resettlement programs through ORR, services offered through Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, and they're even eligible for the federal student aid and Pell Grants. Oh my God. This is unbelievable. But, yep, that's your federal government, at least under the Biden administration. And it's probably not just the Afghan refugees. I'm sure that's probably any and all quote-unquote refugees or asylum seekers or anybody coming from the third world. They're taking advantage of everything that our government system has to offer. It's absolutely insane. Like, dude, no wonder we're pushing $40 trillion in debt. All right, Chad Gilmartin, AG Pam Bondi's DOJ is already leading the way to denaturalize national security threats, drug cartel and gang members, human traffickers, sex offenders, violent criminals, and fraudsters. Under the president's plan, or under President Trump, this DOJ will protect the integrity of our sacred naturalization program from those who obtained U.S. citizenship illegally. So the Civil Division shall prioritize and maximally pursue denaturalization proceedings in all cases permitted by law and supported by the evidence, to promote the pursuit of all viable denaturalization cases available under 8 U.S.C. 1451 and maintain the integrity of the naturalization system, while simultaneously ensuring an appropriate allocation of resources. The Civil Division has established the following categories of priorities for denaturalization cases. Number 1, cases against individuals who pose a potential danger to national security, including those with a nexus to terrorism, espionage, or the unlawful export from the United States of sensitive goods, technology, or information raising national security concerns. Number 2, cases against individuals who engage in torture, war crimes, or other human rights violations. 3, cases against individuals who furthered the unlawful enterprise of criminal gangs, transnational criminal organizations, and drug cartels. 4, cases against individuals who committed felonies that were not disclosed during the naturalization process. 5, cases against individuals who committed human trafficking, sex offenses, or violent crimes. The next one, cases against individuals who engaged in various forms of financial fraud against the United States, including Paycheck Protection Program loan fraud and Medicaid, Medicare fraud. Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP, that was back in the COVID era. When, like, if you had a small business, you could apply for a loan, and in some cases, the government would forgive that loan. A lot of people went to federal prison for that, especially U.S. citizens. A lot of U.S. citizens fraudulently took advantage of that. Number 7, cases against individuals who engaged in fraud against private individuals, funds, or corporations. Number 8, cases against individuals who acquired naturalization through government corruption, fraud, or material misrepresentations, not otherwise addressed by another priority category. Number 9, cases referred by a United States Attorney's Office or in connection with pending criminal charges, if those charges do not fit within one of the other priorities. And number 10, any other cases referred to the Civil Division that the division determines to be sufficiently important to pursue. These categories are intended to guide the Civil Division in prioritizing which cases to pursue. However, these categories do not limit the Civil Division from pursuing any particular case, nor are they listed in a particular order of importance. Further, the Civil Division retains the discretion to pursue cases outside of these categories as it determines appropriate. The assignment of denaturalization cases may be made across sections or units based on experience, subject matter expertise, and the overall needs of the Civil Division. So there you go. That's the 10-point list, or the 10 guidelines that they're using with regard to denaturalization. And from Rapid Response 47, I believe this was yesterday, November 30th. If we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized, maybe through Biden or somebody that didn't know what they were doing, If I have the power to do it, I would denaturalize absolutely.
Mr. President, you said that you might denaturalize some American citizens. Can you talk about...
You mean people that are in here that shouldn't be here?
That became Americans. Are you trying
Well, we'll
to
see. I mean, yeah, we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized maybe through a Biden or somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize absolutely.
Mr. President, you said that you might...
Yeah, and you know what? Not going to get a lot of pushback from that, especially those who failed to keep their oath when they take that oath to become a U.S. citizen. You know, to hold your allegiance to the United States and denounce any other country. Secretary Brooke Rollins, at the president's discretion, we will be reviewing all USDA programs to ensure only legal citizens are receiving benefits. Earlier this year, USDA put states on notice, reminding them illegal immigrants and certain non-citizens cannot receive SNAP benefits. Right now, we are requiring states turn over recipient data to fight waste, fraud, and abuse. Even though 22 blue states have refused to provide the data, we are using every tool to compel their compliance. What are they hiding? Who are they hiding? Thank you, President Trump, for putting Americans first. And I'm not going to read this one again. I read this the day after. It must have been November 29th when I read this on The Swamp. Very long post. I'll repost it if you didn't catch that. But it's a very long one with regard to President Trump giving a happy Thanksgiving, talking about how migrants who earn $30,000 with a green card, they end up getting $50,000 in annual benefits courtesy of the taxpayers. And he goes on to the state of our immigration and Biden's debacle with regard to Afghanistan and all that. Okay, so libs of TikTok, 21 states plus DC, they sue the Trump administration over the changes to SNAP benefits for migrants. But I thought migrants weren't receiving SNAP benefits. Yeah, they're not supposed to be, but for some reason they want to sue over it. 21 states sue Trump admin over changes to immigrant SNAP eligibility. Democratic attorneys general in states like California and New York argue that new guidance illegally blocks legal permanent residents from receiving food stamps. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I mean, look, if they're not actual American citizens, they shouldn't be getting the benefits anyway. And if they can't afford to live here, then go back. Go back to the country you came from. If you can't afford it, you can't pay for your own food. Dear U.S. attorneys, from Mike Davis, providing financial support to illegal aliens is the federal felony of harboring under 8 U.S. Code, Section 1324. Start charging. And November 29th from C3, 22 states do not want to send their SNAP data to the Trump administration to verify immigration status. 21 of the 22 have Democrat governors. Now, why do you think they are resisting? Because the fraud in the SNAP data is staggering. Illegals are getting it, millions of them. Absolutely they are. And of course, that's going to probably take years to compile all that data. So I'm sure that the federal government is fully within their right to compile all of that data, but they're going to stonewall as long as humanly possible. Department of State from the press secretary. Is this a full quote? Yeah, it's full quote, so I'll just play the video.
The Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history. And I'll just walk you through some of the actions that we have taken thus far. Number one, the Trump administration issued a travel ban for 19 countries, including Afghanistan, special immigrant visas, which is a legal pathway to get here, which we know many Afghans have utilized to come into the country, have now been paused since the tragic shooting last week. Refugee admissions were suspended for Afghans from this administration on day one, and refugee admissions into the country right now are essentially at zero, with the exception of Afrikaners fleeing persecution in South Africa. The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas and have revoked visas, as you know, for those who do not align with our country's national interests. The Secretary of State has the right to do that, and we've taken unprecedented action to do just that. We are also now pausing all asylum adjudications for additional vetting as well. The Trump
and of course, 76% of Americans, they're in favor of mass deportations. Fox News press secretary Caroline Leavitt lays out claims of massive fraud in Minnesota. 86 people charged in widespread Minnesota fraud schemes. 78 are Somali immigrants. Go figure. 59 individuals convicted so far for participating in plots that stole roughly $1 billion from taxpayers across multiple programs. A nonprofit and its affiliates falsely claimed to have fed tens of thousands of children during the pandemic and were reimbursed with taxpayer funds. Federal prosecutors say nearly all meals were never delivered. Leaders of the nonprofit allegedly spent taxpayer money on luxury homes, cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya. A second fraud scheme involved hundreds of organizations billing Minnesota for services meant to help people at risk of homelessness. Services, prosecutors say, were never performed.
Refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution, and then come to the United States to abuse our system.
Yeah, and economic reasons, that ain't a reason. That's not good enough to seek asylum, which is what many, if not most people who came from Latin America were doing.
And rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers.
Wow, man,
in
most
one
of them have been
scheme,
convicted
and this is
already.
egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claim to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children.
Never delivered.
In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya.
Friggin' Turkey
Another
and Kenya.
scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded, tax-paying Americans. And this president is not going to put up with it anymore.
Yeah, and like Democrats are like, hey, look over here. Don't look over there. Don't pay attention to what we're doing over there. No. Look over here. Pay attention to this. Don't watch what we're doing. Don't watch all this money that we're squandering. That should be, by all right, going to you and not to illegals or asylum seekers, refugees. Tricia McLaughlin, under Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, has refused to honor ICE's detainers and released back onto New York streets 6,947 criminal illegal aliens since January the 20th. The crimes of these aliens include 29 homicides, 2,509 assaults, 207 sexual predatory offenses, 199 burglaries, 305 robberies, 392 dangerous drug offenses, 300 weapons offenses. This is why we flood the zone. And you're not getting any pushback from any left-wing activists like those Believe All Women and Me Too. Yet 207 sexual predatory offenses. I mean, where's all the screaming voices for those victims? Nowhere to be found. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, at my direction, U.S. Treasury is investigating allegations that under the feckless mismanagement of the Biden administration and Governor Tim Walz, hardworking Minnesotans' tax dollars may have been diverted to the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab. Thanks to the leadership of the president, we are acting fast to ensure Americans' taxes are not funding acts of global terror. We will share our findings as our investigation continues. And from Christopher F. Rufo, that Secretary Bessent was responding to, exclusive, R.K. Thorpe, who is an investigative reporter, Manhattan Institute, City Journal, and New York Post. R.K. Thorpe and I have new reporting on America's Somali fraud rings, which have stolen billions in taxpayer funds and sent some to Islamist terrorists back home. Quote, the largest funder of Al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer. Wow, man. This is on city-journal.org. All right, Minnesota drowning in fraud. Billions in taxpayer dollars have been stolen during the administration of Governor Tim Walz alone. Democratic state officials overseeing one of the most generous welfare regimes in the country are asleep at the switch. And the media, duty-bound by progressive pieties, refuse to connect the dots. So many cases, the fraud has allegedly been perpetrated by members of Minnesota's sizable Somali community. Federal counterterrorism sources confirm that millions of dollars in stolen funds have been sent back to Somalia, where they ultimately landed in the hands of the terror group Al-Shabaab. As one confidential source put it, the largest funder of Al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer. Our investigation shows what happens when a tribal mindset meets a bleeding heart bureaucracy, when imported clan loyalties collide with a political class too timid to offend, and when accusations of racism are cynically deployed to shield criminal behavior. The predictable result is graft, with taxpayers left to foot the bill. If you were to design a welfare program to facilitate fraud, it would probably look a lot like Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services Program. The HSS program, the first of its kind in the country, was launched with a noble goal: to help seniors, addicts, the disabled, and the mentally ill secure housing. It was designed with low barriers to entry and minimal requirements for reimbursement. Nonetheless, before the program went live in 2020, officials pegged its annual estimated price tag at $2.6 million with an M. Costs quickly spiraled out of control. Yeah, of course they did. In 2021, the program paid out more than $21 million in claims. In the following years, annual costs shot up to $42 million, then $74, then $104. During the first 6 months of 2025, payouts totaled $61 million. On August 1st, Minnesota's Department of Human Services moved to scrap the HSS program, noting that payment to 77 housing stabilization providers had been terminated this year due to credible allegations of fraud. Joe Thompson, then the acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota, went even further, stating the vast majority of the HSS program was fraudulent. On September 18th, Thompson announced criminal indictments for HSS fraud against Mokhtar Hassan Aden, Mustafa Dayeb Ali, Khalid Ahmed Dayeb, Abdi Fida Mohammed, Christopher Adesoji Falad, Emmanuel Aluwade Milade Falad, Asad Ahmed Adaw, and Anwar Ahmed Adaw, 6 of whom, according to a U.S. Attorney's Office spokesperson, are members of Minnesota's Somali community. Thompson made clear that this is just the first round of charges for HSS fraud that his office will be prosecuting. Most of these cases, unlike a lot of Medicare fraud and Medicaid fraud cases nationally, aren't just over billing, Thompson said at a press conference announcing the indictments. These are often just purely fictitious companies solely created to defraud the system, and that's unique in the extent to which we have that here in Minnesota. So it goes on from there. That'll be linked below if you want to read the rest of that. And we'll roll to the next thing, probably still related. Let's see, DOW rapid response. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. So changing things up just a little bit.
President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
All right, well, it's all about that depopulation agenda that the World Economic Forum and the global elites and all of them, they want to depopulate the earth. And that's one way of many ways of doing it. Pitting women against men, pushing abortions, making everybody gay, so on and so forth. All right, breaking 911. Infuriating. In Dallas, authorities will not pursue the death penalty for an illegal alien accused of beheading a motel manager with a machete in front of his children on September 10th. The suspect has prior arrests for child sexual assault and carjacking. That is fucked
They will
up,
not
dude.
seek the death penalty against a man charged with beheading a coworker in front of that coworker's family.
So that's the plan, at
Man,
least
talk about a
for
time to
now,
use the
from
death penalty.
prosecutors to the judge presiding over that Capitol murder trial. The shocking violence taking place in broad daylight. It happened in September in front of witnesses. There were also cameras. Fox 4 Sean Rabb in our newsroom now with this story. Sean.
Yeah, so no trial date has been set yet, but the undocumented Yordanis Cobos Martinez, a Cuban native, learned today the state will likely not seek the death penalty for the gruesome crime.
Likely. So is it still possible then?
Shackled and suited out in a tan jail jumper, shadowed by sheriff's deputies, Yordanis Cobos Martinez made his first appearance in a Dallas courtroom. September 10th, Dallas police arrested Cobos Martinez about 30 minutes after he allegedly beheaded the motel manager where the two men worked. 50-year-old Chandra Ben Nagamalaya, murdered in front of his family.
State of Texas versus Yordanis Cobo Martinez. Is that your name, sir?
Through an interpreter, the 37-year-old answered Judge Leela Lawrence Mays.
Yes. Oh, very good.
Cobos Martinez is charged with capital murder for the horrific machete attack. That, like his arrest, was caught on tape.
Sounds like he's not getting capital punishment.
As it relates to, or at least the decision as it relates to seeking the death penalty?
Your Honor, at this point, based on our investigation and my conversations, the state of Texas is not seeking the death penalty, but we do reserve the right to change our mind should anything come up.
Dude, you've
that
got
caused
to be kidding.
Court-appointed defense counsel Leyland Peel to tell the judge the state's intention needs to be clear.
That doesn't really tell me anything. They reserve the right to seek death. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's...
Yeah, like what the hell's going to cause you to change your mind? Dude beheaded somebody in broad daylight in front of his kids. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Until they officially come out and file a document that says they're not seeking death.
Cobos Martinez at times looked around at no one in particular, as he said quietly, but his time in the U.S. has been anything but. The Cuban national has a history in other states like California that includes child sex abuse, false imprisonment, and carjacking.
Dude, that would be one argument for eye for an eye. Give him the same punishment, the same exact method at which he took somebody else's life. Behead his ass. All right, Pete Exeth, for your Christmas wish list, Franklin targets narco-terrorists. That's kind of fucked up, but he posted it. Pete Exeth did. So there you go. I guess Merry Christmas from the War Department. All right, Senator Pete Ricketts, the Republican Senate majority, has been hard at work this year. We secured the border. We're deporting criminal illegal aliens. Under our Republican majority, order is being restored. The safety and security of our country is a top priority. I will keep fighting to keep our communities safe. I can only imagine the comments, probably loaded with the filibuster, eliminating it, because they could get a lot more done if they were to do just that. Trump and his administration is running circles around Congress, passed some legislation already, and it will all be for nothing if you don't end the filibuster. There's that. So when are y'all going to actually denaturalize and deport Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib? They all have to clear our names. We were branded with legal ink, and none of us belong to the Tren de Aragua. President Donald Trump and President Nayib Bukele must face the consequences of everything we went through in that prison. Andre, I don't know what that's in reference to. Venezuela, clearing their names over something. You've not been hard at work. There's much that has not been done. Ditch the filibuster and get busy in the filibuster. So, yeah, I think we get the idea of filibuster. Another one. That was just my assumption that they're probably going to be talking a lot of filibuster comments down there. And GOP, Danielle Alvarez on Democrats' dangerous rhetoric toward our service members. And it's a quote. I just prefer just to play it so that way we don't have to repeat the same thing over again.
If you listen to the list of cities that you just named, whether it was cities in Minnesota, Chicago, New York City, it is Democrat-run cities that are seeing these spikes in crime. If you look at what the president was able to accomplish in Washington, D.C. by bringing in the National Guard, even the Democrat mayor thanked him for his efforts for cleaning up the streets of our beautiful nation's capital. Now, of course, unfortunately, Democrats continue to sow division, to sow hatred towards our brave law enforcement, our brave military members. And as a result, we have our two National Guardsmen who were shot, who is still in critical condition. And of course, we are praying for them and praying for their families.
Yeah, even the mayor of D.C. signed an executive order for the city requiring all D.C. police to fully cooperate with federal agents, and she signed it with no expiration date. I think, isn't it typical with executive orders that they usually have it for like a period of X amount of years or something like that? But she didn't even, this is until further notice, fully cooperate with the federal agents because they're doing a great job. And that was from the mayor of D.C. earlier this year. Rapid Response 47, another post from President Trump. The United States is very satisfied with the results displayed through hard work and determination in the country of Syria. We are doing everything within our power to make sure the government of Syria continues to do what was intended, which is substantial in order to build a true and prosperous country. One of the things that has helped them greatly was my termination of very strong and biting sanctions. I believe this was truly appreciated by Syria, its leadership, and its people. It is very important that Israel maintain a strong and true dialogue with Syria and that nothing takes place that will interfere with Syria's evolution into a prosperous state. The new president of Syria, Ahmed al-Shara, is working diligently to make sure good things happen and that both Syria and Israel will have a long and prosperous relationship together. This is a historic opportunity and adds to the success already attained for peace in the Middle East. So that was at least posted by Rapid Response 10 hours ago. I wish that they would time and date stamp his post more often. The FBI's National Instant Criminal Background Check System processed more than 165,000 firearms-related background checks on Black Friday, just on Black Friday, with the FBI providing responses on 94% of federal background checks in mere minutes. This critical work protects Americans' Second Amendment rights and keeps our country safe by preventing prohibited persons from obtaining firearms. Learn more about the process, and that'll be linked. I'm not so sure if that really helps protect the Second Amendment. I mean, I would say the Second Amendment gives everybody the right to have a firearm no matter what. But anyway, that argument's probably for another day. All right, DEA HQ, in case you missed it, making the case Monday. DEA Seattle Division investigation led to the seizure of more than 3.4 million lethal doses of fentanyl pills and powder, cocaine, and firearms, and 18 arrests in the Western District of Washington. And another link in the description. So, yeah, what was seized and some images. And that's the best we got. I can't zoom in because it's the X platform, but a lot of guns, a lot of drugs, a lot of fentanyl, a lot of cash, tons of cash. And we'll roll on to the next from DEA HQ. 6,911 total arrests. Behind every arrest is teamwork. DEA and our partners are removing guns, drugs, and violent offenders from our streets because public safety begins with accountability. Hashtag make DC safe again. And there's the numbers. So they're inching closer to that 7,000 mark. And from the U.S. Marshal Service, Memphis Safe Task Force update as of December 1st, 2025. Total arrests, 3,447. 536 firearms seized. 121 missing children have been located. And 353 gang members arrested. Making Memphis safe again. December 1st, the most current update. And from Libs of TikTok, massive controversy at a New York school. Parents at Watertown City School District, which is WCSD Cyclones, Watertown City School District, are blasting the district after a teacher allegedly exposed 7th graders to P-word graphic images as part of an art lesson, quote-unquote art lesson. Parents were reportedly not notified of the assignment and never gave consent. The material was not removed until parents discovered the assignment and voiced their concerns. The district allegedly shoved it under the rug and downplayed it. The school now faces potential lawsuits from parents. The teacher has been placed on paid leave after lots of pressure, and she'll probably be on paid leave for God knows how when. Probably could be years. Who knows?
We come before you tonight as deeply concerned, disappointed parents of students at this school. Students who are 11 and 12-year-olds and who were subjected to content in their art class that are entirely inappropriate for their age group. Let us be clear from the very start, this happened in a classroom. It's not a matter of interpretation or a gray area of the curriculum. It was a breach of professional responsibility, of educational ethics, and most importantly, the trust we have placed in the school system to protect our children.
Yeah, we're talking about 13-year-olds, by the way.
Chose to display or discuss these images that have no place in the middle school classroom. These are not age-appropriate materials. They are not aligned with any reasonable academic standard for children of their age. And the result, we have confused, uncomfortable, and in some cases, visibly shaken students coming home asking these questions that no parent ever expects to answer after an art class.
Well, look, this is an art class. Do you think that they were shown images from like the Renaissance era or like Greek sculptures or like some sculpture of like some man that shows his genitalia? No, I highly doubt that's what they were showing. They were probably showing full-on pee,
Understand that
you know
the
what.
teacher involved has been placed on administrative leave, but with all due respect,
Oh, but it's like
that's
art,
not enough.
man.
Administrative leave is a temporary measure used to pause or investigate, but the facts are here not to dispute. The materials were shown, the damage is done, and our trust in that teacher has been irreparably broken.
Please be careful about referencing any specific teacher.
I didn't.
Oh my God. They don't want the teacher's name. Why? Because she's going to be like doxed, bro. You don't want to like dox her. Dude, her name deserves to be out there because if she ends up losing her job, she's just going to go to another district. It's kind of like, you know, like priests in the Catholic religion, whenever they get accused of something, they just move them over to another, whatever they call it, like a district or whatever that's called. That's probably what's just going to end up happening. She's just going to leave this state. She's going to go to another blue state and get licensed in another state and just start all over again because her name is not made public.
Our ask tonight is simple.
But look, all they got to do is just like a student, you know, a student who's 13 years old right now, isn't that the minimum age to be on Facebook? What if one of the students comes out and says, yeah, this is the teacher's name? Like, what are they going to do about it?
It is firm. We are calling for immediate termination of this teacher's employment. Not a punishment rooted in emotion, but as a necessary action that reflects the seriousness of what has occurred. This is not a matter that can be addressed with a warning or a second chance. This is a line that must not be crossed when it comes to safety, dignity, and psychological well-being of our children.
But I hope I'm wrong.
And that line was crossed in the classroom. To be clear, we support art education. We understand that art can challenge, provoke, and inspire. But we also understand that context matters, age matters, and boundaries matter. And in a public school setting, those boundaries are not optional. They are essential. This is not just about one teacher. This is about the message this board sends to every parent in this district. Will you stand behind our children, or will you protect an adult who exercise profoundly poor judgment? We urge you to take action as this situation demands. Do not allow this innocent to be minimized or swept aside. Do not ask us parents to quietly accept a temporary suspension and just move on. Our children deserve better. This community deserves better, and we will continue to speak out until we see appropriate and decisive action taken. I just want to say thank you for your time in this matter, but we ask you to take this very seriously as this situation deserves it. Thank you.
I mean, look, I would say a teacher showing up drunk to work is not as bad as what this art teacher allegedly did. If they're showing like full-on PO.agraphy images or videos or whatever it was that they were showing. And I'm not familiar with Watertown Central School District. I'm not sure how woke they really are. Maybe this may be like the first time that they've been embroiled in controversy, or maybe this is fairly normal. I don't know. Hopefully it's not, though. Okay, Secretary Sean Duffy, huge alert. U.S. Department of Transportation is giving thousands of trucking schools 30 days to comply with federal rules for drivers, or they may be forced to close down. The days of a wild, wild west trucking industry are over under the Trump administration. And he's responding to the Associated Press, breaking nearly 44% of U.S. truck driving schools could close after a federal review found many may be out of compliance with government rules. And this will be on apnews.com. And federal review finds 44% trucking schools don't comply with federal government rules. And so 44% of the 16,000 truck driving schools in the U.S. may be forced to close if they lose their students after a review by the Federal Transportation Department found they may not be complying with government requirements. The Transportation Department said Monday that it plans to revoke the certification of nearly 3,000 schools unless they can comply with training requirements in the next 30 days. The targeted schools must notify students that their certification is in jeopardy. Wow. Another 4,500 schools are being warned they may face similar action. Schools that lose certification will no longer be able to issue the certificate showing a driver completed training that are required to get a license. So students are likely to abandon those schools. Look, I know a lot of parents, they're all about driver's ed. They advocate for it. You know, everybody should get driver's ed. You know, it should be required. under state law that everybody goes through a formal driving program. I'm more on the other side. Just parents should just do what parents do. They should teach their kids how to drive. That's how my parents taught me. My first car, it was a 1989 Mazda 323 hatchback. It was a little 4-speed manual. And I've been driving manual ever since then. And I just think that's what we should do because it's a lot cheaper, if anything. Because I'm pretty sure it costs hundreds of dollars to go through driver's ed, but I don't know, man. Anyway, so separately, the Department of Homeland Security is auditing trucking firms in California owned by immigrants to verify the status of the drivers and whether they are qualified to hold a commercial driver's license. So I'm assuming, because these are truck driving schools, of course, parents are going to teach their kids how to drive freaking, semi-trucks or whatever. It's just an offhand comment just off the top of my head. But anyway, so this crackdown on trucking schools and companies is the latest step in the government's effort to ensure that truck drivers are qualified and eligible to hold a commercial license. This began after a truck driver that Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says was not authorized to be in the U.S. made an illegal U-turn and caused a crash in Florida that killed 3 people. And then there's the other one in California where I think dude was from India and he was under the influence of narcotics, fell asleep at the wheel, and just full-on bombed into a line of stopped traffic in the middle of the highway. And I think it was 3 or maybe 4 people that were killed in that crash. Just absolutely insane. And that was also on dashcam. The action reins in illegal and reckless practices that let poorly trained drivers get behind the wheel of semi-trucks and school buses, Duffy said. Duffy has threatened to pull federal funding from California and Pennsylvania over the issue, and he proposed significant new restrictions on which immigrants can get a commercial driver's license, but a court put those rules on hold. On Monday, he threatened to withhold $30.4 million from Minnesota if that state doesn't address shortcomings in its commercial driver's license program and revoke any licenses that never should have been issued, either because they were valid beyond a driver's work permit or because the state never verified a driver's immigration status. So far, every state Duffy has threatened has been a Democratic state, but he has said the department is auditing a number of other states, including Texas and South Dakota. Yeah, they should be auditing every single state, not just the Democrat ones, all of them. A spokeswoman for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said, "We take safety on our road seriously, and the Minnesota Department of Public Safety has already worked to ensure we are in compliance with federal law." Let's see, trucking schools fail to meet standards. It's not clear how action against these trucking schools could affect the existing shortage of drivers, but the executive director of the largest association of trucking schools, Andrew Polyakov, said many of the schools being decertified were questionable CDL mills that would advertise being able to train drivers in just a few days. Yeah, that ain't right. In established training schools, students normally spend at least a month and get lessons behind both the wheel and in the classroom. He said those schools were really just fleecing people out of money without teaching them the skills they need to get hired or pass the test. Trucking is an outstanding career, and the people who are not familiar with the industry might see someone charging $1,000 to $2,000 for a long weekend or quick training, and they may think that that's desirable, but that's really not, said Polyakov, who leads the Commercial Vehicle Training Association that includes 100 schools with 400 locations nationwide. And we've got the advertisement. So the Transportation Department said the 3,000 schools it has taken action against failed to meet training standards and didn't maintain accurate and complete records. The schools are also accused of falsifying or manipulating training data. Some of them were inactive before this action. Well, yeah, they absolutely should be shut down then if this is what they're doing. Yogi Sanwal, the owner, said his company closed its truck driving school in 2022. It did so after it made some changes to comply with federal accreditation requirements, which then triggered a county government demand for upgrades like replacing sand and gravel with asphalt. The company didn't have the $150,000 it would have needed to do that at the time, so it closed the school. It had trained about 500 truckers in the 4 to 5 years the school was open. Trucking industry groups have praised the effort to tighten up licensing standards and ensure that drivers can meet basic English proficiency requirements the Trump administration began enforcing this summer. But groups that represent immigrant truck drivers say they believe many qualified drivers and companies are being targeted simply because of their citizenship status. Quote, "Bad actors who exploit loopholes in our regulatory systems are putting everyone at risk. This is unacceptable," said Paul J. Enos, CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association. "We are focused on solutions and resolute on seeing them implemented." Todd Spencer, president of the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, said the industry has long warned about the potential for problems if trucking schools are allowed to certify themselves. When training standards are weak, or in some instances totally non-existent, drivers are unprepared and everyone on the road pays the price, Spencer said. And of course, immigrant drivers, they're saying they're being unfairly targeted. Truck drivers of the Sikh faith have been caught in the crossfire and faced harassment because the drivers in the Florida crash and another deadly crash in California this fall were both Sikhs. The North American Punjabi Truckers Association estimates that the Sikh workforce makes up about 40% of truck driving on the West Coast and about 20% nationwide. Advocacy groups estimate that 150,000 Sikh truck drivers work in the U.S. 150,000 of them. Look, dude, if you're proficient in English, if you can read English and you can speak English, you understand the signs and you know what the hell you're doing, and you're legally allowed to be here, then I don't think the average American's going to have much of a problem. As long as you know what you're doing, as long as you're certified with an accredited truck driving school, and if you know the language. The Department of Homeland Security didn't respond immediately to questions about the effort to verify the immigration status of truck drivers, but the United Sikhs Advocacy Group said they have heard directly from Punjabi company owners about these aggressive audits of immigration records. I mean, look, if they're technically not legally allowed to be here, or if they don't speak proper English, then well, yeah, they're gonna totally be outspoken about it because it affects them negatively. Sikh and immigrant truckers with spotless records are being treated like suspects while they keep America's freight moving. The United Sikhs group said, when federal agencies frame lawful licensed drivers as risks, it doesn't improve safety, it fuels xenophobia, harassment, and even violence on the road. Any policy built on fear instead of facts endangers families, civil rights, and the national supply chain. California moved to revoke 17,000 commercial driver's licenses after federal officials raised concerns that they had been issued improperly to immigrants or allowed to remain valid long after a driver's work permit expired. Well, duh, if their work permit expired, then yeah, their CDL should be stripped away. Absolutely. Okay. And moving to the White House, getting into a couple of Christmas posts. Merry Christmas, Portland. So what should I do first? Should I do this one? I'll do this one first, even though the top one's only 5 seconds. So this is from the New York Post. Portland sparks outrage for city's tree lighting ceremony. They can't even say Christmas tree. So the city of Portland's getting all triggered because they're lighting Christmas trees now. And knowing Portland, it's probably going to be lit on fire any minute now. So Portland's woke tree lighting ceremony sparks outrage. They can't even say Christmas tree. Oh, so they weren't even saying Christmas tree. What were they just saying? Tree? Oh yeah, they were. 41st annual tree lighting. Dude, what's the point, man? If you're not going to mention Christmas, and look, a lot of Christians might even push back and say, look, using the Christmas tree, it's and Santa Claus, it's directing away the whole point of Christmas in the first place, and with Jesus's birthday and all of that. So for them to even, steer it further away, but look, I know what they're doing. It's all about just trying to strip away anything that's traditional, getting rid of traditionalism because they see it as like big, bad, evil, conservative values. So anyway, Portland has sparked outrage after stripping its Christmas tree of its name, referring it to only as the tree during its lighting ceremony. Again, what is the point, man? If you can't even recognize that it's even a Christmas tree, like, why are you even wasting the electricity at this point? As thousands gathered in Pioneer Courthouse Square for the Oregon's city's 41st annual tree lighting on Friday night. Look, New York Post, you should have said 41st annual Christmas tree lighting. On Friday night, leaders and speakers avoided mentioning Christmas at any point, including in the ceremony itself and the event's ads. The festive occasion was kicked off with a woman from the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs thanking everyone in the crowd for coming out on Native American Heritage Day. So why don't they just call it the lighting of the Native American tree or something? She introduced 2 younger members of the tribe who referred to the celebration only as the tree lighting before handing the microphone to another featured speaker. Draped in a Palestinian flag, of course. Draped in a Palestinian flag, the woman used her stage time to lead the crowd in a Free Palestine! Free Palestine! And then they probably yelled shame probably 10,000 times. This is the perfect time to bring this up. There are a lot of genocides going on. And she said only moments into the tree lighting ceremony. There's just genocides all over the place. You get a genocide and you get a genocide. Can I get a free Palestine? She asked, and some members of the crowd were heard obliging. She then led the crowd in the Strong Woman song. Oh, that would be great. So performing alongside 2 young children and another woman, noting that it felt appropriate since we're representing our matriarchs up here. Okay. So why isn't Mrs. Claus delivering presents in Portland, Oregon? Though the event seemed to lack the usual Christmas spirit that most U.S. cities embrace during the holiday season, the city made sure to trot out a Santa Claus who posed with families and had a sing-along of holiday carols, which included Angels We Have Heard on High and Deck the Halls. Again, why is there a Santa Claus? Why not Mrs. Claus? Nearly an hour into the ceremony, Mayor Keith Wilson addressed the crowd and brought out Santa Claus and the city's representatives before switching on the 10,000 bulbs on the 75-foot-tall tree. While the ceremony appeared to go off without any incident, it did garner some criticism online. I'm sure it did. And it's hilarious that they're putting like holographic images of freaking advertisements. Nearly an hour into the ceremony, Mayor Keith Wilson addressed the crowd and brought out Santa Claus and the city's representatives before switching on the 10,000 bulbs, 75-foot tree. They can't even say Christmas tree in Portland. They call it the tree, one user wrote on X following the ceremony. Why does everything have to be so divisive? Another question. It's a Christmas tree. It's always been a Christmas tree, and it will always be a Christmas tree. I mean, why don't they just call it like a pine tree or a Douglas fir or whatever the hell it is? The lighting of the Douglas fir. Just saw a Christmas parade in Texas, and everyone was saying Merry Christmas. God bless Texas, another user added. Okay, so that'll do it for that, and we'll see what this response was with President Trump. So Merry Christmas, Portland.
Well, guess what? We're saying Merry Christmas again.
There you have
guess
it.
What?
We are saying Merry Christmas
We're
again.
saying Merry Christmas again.
Okay. And from the White House, home is where the heart is. America's Christmas at the White House. And they shared 4 images of Christmas time at the White House. The halls are decked. The White House is looking festive. America 250. They got Trump's mugshot painting. That's awesome. That's based. And then the Christmas tree. And there you have it from the White House 11 hours ago. And we're going to head to Senate Republicans. CNN, quote, for the first time in 4.5 years, gas prices are averaging $3 a gallon nationally. Thank you, President Trump.
This morning, some states seeing gas prices below $3 for the first time in years. Let's get to CNN's Matt.
Not in Florida yet. I wish it was.
On this. Yeah,
we're still a little above $3
it's nice to
here.
Be with some good news on the cost of living front. So for the first time in 4.5 years, gas prices are averaging $3 a gallon nationally, according to AAA, down by 7 cents in just the past
Make America great
week.
again.
Gas prices were low a year ago as well, but they're even cheaper now.
You know, it's funny. This is probably
because late last month.
This is probably going to be the only segment on CNN over the entire 24-hour period of this entire day where they're probably not going to mention Donald Trump's name one single time.
There was a period where gas prices were actually higher this year than last year, but that has reversed again, and now we've just fractions of a penny away from breaking below $3 a gallon. Now, as you mentioned, we've got 20 states across the country where the average is actually less than $2.75.
I was going to say, how many of those are blue states? How many? Let's count them. How many blue states on the map where gas is below $2.75? 0. I think it's 0. Oh wait, New Mexico, right? Yeah, New Mexico. That's a blue state, isn't it? Oh yeah, Colorado. Colorado's a blue state too. Okay, all right. So there's a couple of blue states
gallon,
at least,
including
the
North
vast
Carolina,
majority are
South Carolina,
red.
Texas, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Colorado as well. Certainly nice to see this. Why is this happening? Well, it all comes down, of course, to oil prices, right? Oil prices are about $59 a barrel this morning. If you look back in history on December 1, 3 years ago, we're looking at $81 a barrel for oil, $67 even last year.
Evil Biden's
so
president.
Significantly cheaper, and that's because right
How
now,
dare he?
supply of oil continues to outpace demand. It's U.S. supply. Production in the U.S. is at all-time highs. It's higher than last year, but only a little bit
Drill, baby,
higher.
drill.
OPEC is the big story.
Unleashing American energy.
OPEC, they are ramping up production substantially this year. They've signaled that they plan to pause those output hikes next year. But
because
for
the president
now,
has
look,
unleashed
this is a
energy.
good story when it comes to the affordability crisis. Gasoline, it's relatively cheap. All right. Well, good news for now, Maddie. Thank you very much.
I stand correct. Not one single time did they mention Trump's name. I bet that really was the only segment of the entire day where they didn't say Donald Trump. Okay, in the GOP gas buddy, U.S. national average gas price falls below $3 a gallon, lowest level since 2021. And the U.S. Department of Energy, drill, baby, drill. From the White House 6 hours ago, energy prices are tumbling. Now 31 states feature average gas prices under $3 per gallon. Unfortunately, my state, it's not there just yet. Hopefully it's going to get there. But the Trump administration, they say that it's going to, that all the states, I'm sure California's never going to get there, or, and well, hell, probably most of the blue states won't for that matter. But he keeps touting that, what is it, like by the end of the year, that even more states are going to be below $3 a gallon, and it's going to keep coming down. It happened during his first administration. Gas fell down to $1.79 a gallon on average. And I know that because at one time I had a bumper sticker on my car that said that, like I could really use some mean tweets and $1.79 gas. I think that was the one that I had. All right, EIA. So the EIA, Independent Statistics and Analysis from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Hurricanes in 2024 led to the most hours without power in the United States in 10 years. Hashtag Today in Energy. U.S. electric power interruptions from 2014 to 2024, the number of hours per customer. And yeah, 2024 skyrocketed. Surely from Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and I'm sure there were a couple of other storms in 2024. Those are just the two that affected me locally. Yeah, we were without, I can't believe it, but Hurricane Helene, I didn't lose power. That was amazing. But Hurricane Milton, I was without power for like 4 days or 5 days. It was a while, but this year nobody got a hurricane in the continental U.S. And I think we had North Carolina or South Carolina. They had a tropical storm, but that was the only named storm that hit the U.S. this year. That was the first time that the United States didn't get hit by a hurricane. I think they said it was in 10 years, and it was 11 years since the state of Florida had not been hit by any named storm. So that was a nice break that we definitely deserved to have this year. That was really nice that we got missed. So U.S. Department of Energy from 10 hours ago, DOE announces $134 million in funding to strengthen rare earth element supply chains. And we'll read a bit of this. So new funding aims to strengthen domestic rare earth supply chains, reduce reliance on foreign sources, and advance U.S. energy security. From Washington, the U.S. Department of Energy's Office of Critical Minerals and Energy Innovation today announced a notice of funding opportunity, which I'll link, for up to $134 million to enhance domestic supply chains for rare earth elements, or REEs. Through this funding, DOE will support projects that demonstrate the commercial viability of recovering and refining REEs from unconventional feedstocks, including mine tailings, e-waste, and other waste materials. These efforts will reduce America's dependence on foreign sources, strengthen national security, and promote American energy independence. Quote, for too long, the United States has relied on foreign nations for the minerals and materials that power our economy, said U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright. We have these resources here at home, but years of complacency ceded America's mining and industrial base to other nations. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, we are reversing that trend, rebuilding America's ability to mine, process, and manufacture the materials essential to our energy and economic security. Well, this funding opportunity stems from DOE's Office of Critical Minerals and Energy Innovation's Rare Earth Demonstration Facility Program, which is designed to demonstrate full-scale integrated rare earth extraction and separation facilities within the United States. This NOFO follows the department's notice of intent released in August. REEs such as praseodymium, neodymium, terbium, and dysprosium are vital components in advanced manufacturing, defense systems, and high-performance magnets used in power generation and electric motors. By investing in domestic REE recovering and processing, DOE is working to secure America's energy independence, strengthen economic competitiveness, and ensure long-term resilience in the nation's supply chains. A webinar with additional information on this funding opportunity will be held at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern on December the 9th, so mark your calendars. The webinar can be joined here. You can join the webinar here. I'll link that as well if you're curious enough. Oh, it looks like it's going to be a Teams meeting. You can join the Teams meeting. over there with Department of Energy. Non-binding, non-mandatory letters of intent are requested by December 10th at 5 p.m. Eastern to assist the department in planning for the review process. Full applications must be submitted by 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern on January 5th of 2026. And there's that. Releasing energy and our critical minerals. We're just ramping it up all across the board. Secretary Doug Burgum, he's the Secretary of the Interior, if I remember right. Yes, Secretary of the Interior, the 55th. The president is making D.C. beautiful again. Thank you to National Park Service and all of the contractors who are cleaning up the reflecting pool and restoring our National Mall to greatness. And they are, man. They cleaned it out. I think it's totally been, yeah, see, look at that, man. It's like completely empty. So there's no water left. They're even lifting the drain and getting that reflecting pool all cleaned out. There we go. Rapid response 47. Just in, U.S. government announces agreement in principle with the United Kingdom on pharmaceutical pricing. This is going to be on ustr.gov. U.S. government announces agreement in principle with the U.K. on pharmaceuticals. And again, in Washington, dated today, the Office of the United States Trade Representative, the Department of Commerce, and the Department of Health and Human Services issued the following statements announcing an agreement in principle on pharmaceutical pricing between the United States and the UK. In the historic US-UK economic prosperity deal, President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer agreed to address long-standing imbalances in US-UK pharmaceutical trade by improving the overall environment for pharmaceutical companies operating in the UK. The EPD also secured continued investment by UK pharmaceutical companies in the United States, further strengthening American leadership in pharmaceutical development and manufacturing. Quote, President Trump is the first American president to work with U.S. trading partners to ensure fair payment internationally for innovative pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical ingredients. For too long, American patients have been forced to subsidize prescription drugs and biologics in other developed countries by paying a significant premium for the same products in ours, said Ambassador Greer. Today, the United States and the United Kingdom announced this negotiated outcome pricing for innovative pharmaceuticals, which will help drive investment and innovation in both countries. The Trump administration is reviewing the pharmaceutical pricing practices of many other U.S. trading partners and hopes that they will follow suit with constructive negotiations. Today's agreement is a major win for American workers and our innovation economy. We're strengthening supply chains, creating high-quality jobs, and reinforcing America as the world's premier hub for life sciences investment, said Secretary Howard Lutnick. This deal doesn't just deepen our economic partnership with the United Kingdom, it ensures that the breakthroughs of tomorrow will be built, tested, and produced on American soil. Pursuant to the terms of the pharmaceutical pricing agreement in principle announced today, the United Kingdom will reverse the decade-long trend of declining National Health Service expenditures on innovative life-saving medicines and increase the net price it pays for new medicines by 25%. Furthermore, the United Kingdom will ensure that higher prices for new medicines are not materially eroded by a demand for portfolio-wide concessions under the Voluntary Scheme for Branded Medicines Pricing, Access, and Growth, or VPAG, or other rebate schemes. In fact, the United Kingdom has committed that the repayment rate owed by companies under the current VPAG scheme will decrease to 15% in 2026 and remain at or below that level for the duration of the scheme. This agreement comes less than 2 months after President Trump announced the first results of his most favored nation, MFN, pharmaceutical drug pricing policy, and underscores his determination to bring down drug prices for the American people. When nations fairly share the burden of producing and paying for life-saving medicines, every citizen gains, and the fight against global disease becomes one we can actually win together, said Chris Klump, the Director of Medicare and Deputy Administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and a lead negotiator of the agreement. In exchange for these and other commitments, the United States has agreed to exempt UK-origin pharmaceuticals, pharmaceutical ingredients, and medical technology from Section 232 tariffs and will refrain from targeting UK pharmaceutical pricing practices in any future Section 301 investigation for the duration of President Trump's term. Further, the United States will work to ensure that UK citizens have access to the latest pharmaceutical breakthroughs. Quote, Americans should not pay the world's highest drug costs for medicines they helped fund, said Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Quote, this agreement with the United Kingdom strengthens the global environment for innovative medicines and brings long overdue balance to U.S.-UK pharmaceutical trade. President Trump showed real courage and leadership in demanding these reforms, and I thank him for delivering results that put Americans first. And that's on the Office of the United States Trade Representative, or USTR.gov. And on to the next, from Scott Turner, Housing and Urban Development Secretary. In October, over 26% of all U.S. home listings offered buyers a price cut, $25,000 on average. The president is bringing affordability back to the housing market. All right. I mean, we're not there yet. I think if that is accurate, I think we got another $175,000 to go, and that's just in my opinion. All right, a new report finds that home buyers are receiving some of the steepest price discounts on record as sellers adjust their expectations. I think I might push back on that one, but anyway, Zillow found that the typical listing in the U.S. had $25,000 in cumulative price cuts in October, which matched the largest discounts the company has ever recorded. Okay, well, $25,000 drop in a single month, that would be incredible news. The typical size of an individual price cut is little changed from recent years at around $10,000, but the report noted that sellers are adjusting their sales prices more frequently with listings taking longer to move. The share of the listings with price cuts is 26.9% of all U.S. listings, according to the report. Quote, most homeowners have seen their home values soar over the past several years, which gives them the flexibility for a price cut or two while still walking away with a profit, said Zillow senior economist Kara Ng. These discounts are bringing more listings in line with buyers' budgets and helping fuel the most active housing market in 3 years, Ng said. Patient buyers are reaping the rewards as the market continues to rebalance. Zillow noted that the areas with the largest median discounts from the initial listing price were located in some of the most expensive housing markets in the country. Cuts by sellers in San Jose amounted to a median $70,900 cumulative discount, the largest of all markets. Yeah, but I think the average in San Jose is like $1.5 million or something for the average home. It's over $1 million. Other metro areas in California saw sizable median reductions of $61,000 in LA, $59,000 in San Francisco, and $50,000 in San Diego, while New York City also saw a median cumulative price cut of $50,000. In some metro areas, home sellers haven't had much flexibility to reduce prices. The smallest cumulative median price discounts in October were in Oklahoma City at $15,000, Louisville at $15,000, St. Louis at $15,100, Indianapolis at $16,000, and Detroit at $17,100. Aside from Oklahoma City, those metro areas are seeing homes sell faster than the national average, and listings tend to be newer, which indicates there is steady demand and sellers don't need to make deep price cuts to attract a buyer. Markets which had costly homes to begin with tended to have bigger relative discounts for buyers. Pittsburgh had a typical $20,000 markdown with about 9% of the metro's typical home value, which was the largest relative discount among major markets in Zillow's report. New Orleans also had a discount of about 9% relative to the typical home value in the market, while buyers saw similarly sized price cuts in Austin, 8.4%, Houston, 8.2%, and San Antonio at 7.9%. Well, and I did a video, it was probably about 2 weeks ago at this point, where it showed that the city of Tampa, which I don't live in Tampa, I live across the bay from Tampa, but I live in the Tampa Bay area. But the city of Tampa, they have more foreclosures by far than any other city in the entire country. Something like 11 or 12% of all foreclosures across the country are in Tampa alone, which is wild. All right, ready, gov. Happy December 1st. This month is already bringing winter weather from the Midwest to the Northeast. Prepare for winter storms now. Add items to your emergency kit, such as warm clothes, blankets, and a shovel. Prepare your home by adding insulation, caulking, and weather stripping. It's been years since I've seen snow. I think it was like 2013, the last time I saw snow. So let alone driven in it. I don't think I've driven in snow probably my whole adult life. But I wouldn't have thought to keep a snow shovel in the trunk. That's kind of a good idea. If you get buried in snow, you got to shovel your way out of it. That's something I wouldn't have thought of. So, weather radio, first aid kit, some tools, flashlight. I'm assuming that's just a phone charger, portable phone charger. Also, those tire inflator devices, it's like handheld. It's about the size of a portable charger. You could buy those things on Amazon for like $20 or $30 now, and it'll air up your tires on a single charge. It's actually kind of nice. I got one over the summer. And I wish I'd done that a long time ago, because they used to charge like $0.25 to air up your tires, and now, at least my local gas station, I think it's like $2 now. $2 to air up your tires. Except Wawa. I think Wawa, they still offer free air. So anyway, CIA, on this day in 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson received the first President's Daily Brief. And you can learn more by watching this YouTube video. If it's only a minute or so, then, oh, it is. All right, I'll play it. Why not?
Today we're going to talk about
Central Intelligence Agency. Did you know that they had a YouTube channel? They do. The Central Intelligence Agency, and they even have a gray check mark.
One of the most critical and classified documents to come out of this country, the President's Daily Brief, more commonly known as the PDB.
The PDB.
Contrary to its name, though, it doesn't just go to the president. It actually is received by cabinet members, the National Security Council. But one thing that is important is that it is specific to the preferences of the person who holds the highest office in the country, the President of the United States. Every time a new president takes office, the CIA works to really make sure that we take those preferences into consideration. When John F. Kennedy received his brief, it was known as the President's Intelligence Checklist, or the PICL. When Bush 41 was president, he had the rare insight into our organization that no president before him ever had. He was our director, so he understood how important the intelligence coming out of this organization was, and was the first president to request an in-person briefing of the President's Daily Brief. President Obama was the first president to receive the PDB on a tablet. This was great for our graphics people, as it allowed them the opportunity to create highly sophisticated interactives. The topics of the PDB are going to change based off of what's going on in the world. But one thing that doesn't change is that it is always timely, factual, and non-politicized information.
Well, and they said specific to the preferences of the president. I saw that to be interesting. So I guess the CIA, they're supposed to be on the program of the president's direction, which, yeah, of course they're supposed to be. But for them to curtail this daily briefing based on the preferences of the president. So I'm assuming the CIA is probably a lot of immigration-related material, probably peace in the Middle East, stuff like that, narco-terrorism. Okay, from the U.S. Army 11 hours ago, the tactical edge of Army acquisition Project Flytrap 4.5. Soldiers assigned to 10th Army Air and Missile Defense Command tested new, lower-cost portable sensors and shooters designed for the Eastern Flank Deterrence Line at, oh man, I'm not even going to pretend to even try to say that, Trupenu Bungsplats. Okay, fine, I did. Truppen Ingu Bungsplats, Putlos in Germany. Let's watch this.
Project Flytrap 4.5 is an initiative by the U.S. Army to reinforce the Eastern Flank Deterrence Line.
This is bringing civilian vendors and military personnel together to try and find solutions for the EFDL. Things can evolve daily, and we have to find solutions that can happen, be implemented right now.
200 companies, first price challenge down to 15. We are at the tactical edge of the Army acquisition
to make sure that we can bring the right vendors to the soldiers and ultimately to provide that equipment back into the hands of the warfighters so that we can win in a war to deter Russian aggression here in Europe.
I'm grateful that I was put in a position where I can help push the initiative forward and expand the branch.
What we do here is going to be important for years to come. It's going to be something that not only affects me, but every single person that comes after me. That's something that I don't take lightly at all.
Well, there you go. And the drone warfare that's going on between Ukraine and Russia is absolutely wild. Like Ukraine, they're using essentially Amazon, drones you could buy on Amazon for like $100, and they're strapping explosives onto them and they're flying them into Russian soldiers. I've seen videos on YouTube of it. I mean, YouTube, you're not going to see any kind of gore. You're not going to see any of that, but you're going to see, like, if you look for it, they've got footage of drones, like a first-person perspective, because they got a camera on the drone, flying straight at a soldier, and then the signal just dies. I mean, you can use your imagination as to what happened. Okay, so U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Smile, the alligator gar, is among the largest freshwater fish in North America. They may grow up to 10 feet and weigh more than 300 pounds. These fish are found in the southeast of freshwater lakes and brackish marshes, estuaries, and bays along the Gulf Coast. Check out this thing, man. That thing is crazy looking. I didn't even know we even had anything like that in North America. That is bizarre looking. That is crazy. All right. And I'm sure that they're probably swimming around, nearby where I live. I mean, I live near a pretty good-sized freshwater lake. There's probably a couple of them out there. Okay, in U.S. currency, the 2025 Diary of Consumer Payment Choice found that nearly 80% of consumers held cash on their person during the reporting period. Learn about the security and design features of these Federal Reserve notes here. I carry cash everywhere I go. I always have. I think it's better to keep track of your money when you're out spending money. Like if you're going to the mall or whatever, you can swipe your card all day long and not really keep track of what's going on. But if you go to the mall with a specific amount of cash, you can keep track of it a lot more effectively, I think. At least I do. All right, U.S. Air Force, top cops, one team, shared purpose. For the first time in their 72-year alliance, U.S. and the Republic of Korea senior Air Force security forces leaders met to strengthen ties, share regional security, and explore training. See how this milestone boosts readiness right here. And I don't think that's, that's not going to be a video. So it's right here at af.mil. AF.mil, the Air Force's website. USAF, ROKAF, top cops meet on JBA, all these acronyms. Joint Base Andrews, Maryland, AFNS. For the first time in the 72-year alliance between the U.S. and South Korea, the country's top cops, their senior Air Force military police officers, met to strengthen the relationship between their branches, exchange perspectives on shared regional security challenges, and commit to exploring future training exchange opportunities. U.S. Air Force Brig General Brian A. Filler, the Air Force's Director of Security Forces, Deputy Chief of Staff for Logistics, Engineering, and Force Protection, and Republic of Korea Air Force Colonel Jong Sung-woo, the Air Force Military Police Agency Commander, met in Washington, D.C. Quote, our fruitful discussions highlighted the bond between our forces. This is not merely a tactical alliance, but a vital strategic partnership forged in shared commitment, mutual respect, and a common purpose, Filler said. By strengthening our relationship through combined training, knowledge sharing, and unified strategic planning, we aim to build a robust and resilient deterrent against any potential threat to our collective security. A portion of this trip was dedicated to a site visit at Joint Base Andrews on November 14th. And is it just going to be photos from here? It looks like. So, oh, no, there's more here. Okay, so the site visit was an opportunity to demonstrate security forces' competencies, not only our everyday battle rhythm, but our warfighting capabilities as well, said U.S. Air Force Colonel Joseph Ben-Karusky, the 316th Security Forces Group Commander. During their visit, Filler and Wu met with 316th SFG leadership, discussed counter small unmanned aircraft systems, received a military working dog demonstration, and experienced an immersion with the Ravens, a specialized force protection asset. Throughout their visit, knowledge was exchanged, patches were shared, and options for future joint trainings were discussed. Quote, it was interesting to compare and contrast our forces, Ben-Karusky said. We discussed opportunities for partnership between our air forces, security forces, ways we could train together and learn from each other's strengths and challenges. Filler said that the discussions they had underscore the relationship between the USAF and ROKAF and their joint dedication to collaborative defense and the enduring importance of interoperability in maintaining peace and stability. Quote, I look forward to furthering the ability of our forces to operate in a combined environment and expand training opportunities to establish a cohesive force able to withstand the uncertainties of emergent threats in the Indo-Pacific, Filler said. Okay, and from the CDC, mosquito bites can make you sick. Of course they can. Don't forget your EPA-registered insect repellent when traveling to warm destinations this holiday season. Plan ahead to prevent mosquito bites. Yep, in my neck of the woods, they're around all year. Always get mosquito bites on the daily, at least where I'm at. And I'll link that if you want to read more about mosquito bites. I won't bore you with it in the video right now, but it'll be linked in the description from the CDC. So if you check that out below, it should be cdc.gov. U.S. mission to NATO 16 hours ago. Romania National Day. La Multi Ani Romania. Honoring our NATO ally Romania on its National Day, we celebrate our bilateral strategic dialogue and stronger defense, energy, and border security cooperation, Romania's commitment to defense spending, and its proactive role as a Black Sea security provider strengthen Europe. And I asked Grok, hey Grok, give us some fun facts about Romania, just an offhand. question. Sure, here's some fun facts. It's home to the Palace of the Parliament in Bucharest, the world's heaviest building and second largest administrative structure. The Mary Cemetery in Sapanta features colorful tombstones with humorous epitaphs about the deceased. Romania has Europe's largest population of brown bears, numbering around 6,000. Timisoara was the first city in mainland Europe to introduce electric street lighting in 1884. And also, Bram Stoker's Dracula was inspired by Vlad the Impaler, a 15th century Romanian ruler. There you have it. Happy Romania Day. Or Happy National Romania Day. And General Chance Staltzman, Space Force service dress is now standard issue at our basic military training. From the start, Guardian feedback shaped its design and fit. I know the Force will wear it with pride. So these are the new service dress that they had chosen, and they're getting fitted for their uniforms. And there you have it. It certainly looks different, but there you have it, man. They announced that today. The Space Force service dress from 13 hours ago. And finally, from NASA, the night skies have some special gifts for you this December. The peak of the Geminid meteor shower happens, which it's either 60 meteors an hour or might even be up to 80, but I know it's at least 60 meteors an hour. And what's cool about the Geminid meteor shower is that it's often multicolored. So if you are in a dark enough place and you watch it, especially after midnight, and I think you look to the east. I might be not 100% on that. They'll probably explain that in the video, but sometimes you'll see a red meteor. Sometimes you'll see a green one. You might see a white one, but mostly probably white and blue. But anyway, let's give this a watch. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me read the other two real quick. So the closest approach of 3i Atlas to Earth, which will be 170 million miles away. That's happening this month. And also a Jupiter-Moon conjunction. So that's going to look cool. So Jupiter and the Moon are going to be really close together. But yeah, 3i Atlas, that is the third interstellar object that mankind has detected in our solar system. Only the third one. The first one passed through in 2017, known as Oumuamua. And this is now the third object, and we're watching it right now. It's a comet. It developed a cone, and it's got a comet tail and the whole 9 yards. So, all right.
3i Atlas comet makes its closest approach to Earth. The Geminid meteor shower sparkles across the sky, and we spot a conjunction between the moon and Jupiter.
There it is.
That's what's up for December.
Conjunction.
Comet 3i Atlas is making its closest approach to Earth on December 19th. This could be your best bet to see this interstellar interloper. Comet 3i Atlas is the third object in history from outside of our solar system to be discovered within our solar system.
Number 3.
NASA continues to observe and study the object using a variety of spacecraft and telescopes so we can learn as much as we can about it while it's in our solar neighborhood. Comet 3i Atlas poses no threat to Earth and will remain very far away.
Very far away.
On its closest approach to our planet on December 19th, it will still be about 170 million miles away, or more than...
Which, by the way, the distance from the sun to the Earth is 92 million miles. So, yeah, 918, so almost twice the distance from the Earth to the sun. That's how far away it's...
700 times the distance between the Earth and the moon. Still, at this distance, skywatchers looking east to northeast in the early pre-dawn morning could catch the comet right under Regulus, a star at the heart of the constellation Leo, the lion.
There you go, man.
To see
Dust
the
off your
comet
telescopes.
before it leaves our vicinity, you'll need to be looking through a telescope with an aperture of at least 30 centimeters. Look for observatories and skywatching events in your local area.
Expensive telescope.
The Geminid meteor shower will sparkle across the skies this December, peaking on the evenings of December 13th and 14th. This meteor shower is known for being bright and colorful, and it's made up of debris trailing the asteroid 3200 Phaethon. To catch the Geminid's peak, look to the eastern sky all evening on December 13th and December 14th. The meteors will appear near the bright planet Jupiter. With the darkest possible skies, you could see up to 120 Geminid meteors per hour.
A lot more than I thought.
On the evening of December 7th, the moon will have a friend in the night sky as the moon and Jupiter get close for a conjunction. During a conjunction, objects in the sky like planets and moons appear close together, even though they're actually far apart. For example, while the Moon and Jupiter will buddy up this month from our view, in space, they're actually hundreds of millions of miles apart. To see the pair together, look up to the Moon in the eastern sky on December 7th, and Jupiter will be just above and to the right.
Look, if you've been nerding out about astronomy for a long time, maybe if you remember looking all the way back to 2008, I remember when it was Jupiter and the Moon, and I think it was Venus, were in like a real close, like triangular shape up in the night sky just after sunset. I remember seeing that.
Here are
the
cool phases of the Moon for December. You can stay up to date on all of NASA's missions exploring the solar system and beyond at science.nasa.gov. I'm Chelsea Good from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and that's what's up for this month.
You get it? What's up? What's up, NASA? All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode, and I'll be back with another one tomorrow. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me if you subscribe, and I'll drop the next show tomorrow and every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone in it, politicians, bureaucracy, all the agencies, and everything else. I also post daily episodes on X, so feel free to comment there too if you'd like. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.